So, war, treaty, purchase, that's how we got all of these lands which we owned in common. So how did those lands that I just showed you we got all together, how did we start getting those into private hands? There are a lot of reasons. First of all, we had no money when we won our independence, so we paid our soldiers in land. If you were a private or enlisted man, you could get 100 acres of farmable land, up to 50 or 500 acres if you were a colonel or higher. We sold land for $1 an acre. So a section of land, 640 acres, would cost you $640. And you think in today's terms, what a steal. $1 in 1785 was a lot of money. And $640 was an absolute fortune. That raised to $1.25. And over the time this was being done, nearly 180 million acres of this land that I just showed you where we got was transferred to private ownership. Then came the Homestead Act in 1862 during the Civil War, and under the Homestead Act, you could claim 160 acres of land if you were the head of a household, and the head of a household could be a man or a woman. That was increased to 320 and then to 640 over time, and then even more after that. The reason for that being that the good lands got homesteaded first. All those lands in those days were used for agriculture. So the good lands, the ones near water, went first. It took more land as you got further away from water, and as you went west, the landscape became drier and drier as well. So it took more acreage. You had to be 21 years old. You had to live on the land for 5 years. You had to build a house on it, and then it was yours. And under that program, on top of the 180 million acres that was sold to people, another 270 million acres went to private ownership. That's starting to be real acreage now. Then we still didn't have enough money, so we needed to build the railroads, and we started paying to build the railroads in land. So as the railroads went west, 200 feet on either side of the track was deeded to the railroad as railroad land. In addition to that, for every mile of completed track in a checkerboard pattern, as much as 12,500 acres of land was transferred to the railroad, who then, of course, sold it to land speculators or private individuals. And under that program, on top of 180, 270, and another 180 million acres were now transferred to private ownership. In 1976, the Federal Land Policy Management Act was passed, and it ended the Homestead Act, although there had been very little homesteading since about 1935 when the Taylor Grazing Act was passed. It said the public lands will be retained in federal ownership unless as a result of a land use planning procedure provided for in the act, it is determined that disposal of a particular parcel will serve the national interest. Congress can always dispose of lands, but there's no more goal to get rid of those lands. In fact, the contrary is true now. So what are the lands we have left? About 28% of the United States is still in common ownership. We all own it. The yellow is BLM, the light green is Forest Service, the chartreuse kind of color right there are national park areas, the red are Native American reservations, which are not public land, the blue are military reservations and so forth. These lands back here where you said that where there's not public land, those were cut over timberlands that then were bought up by the federal government and replanted in large measure by the CCC. They were completely destroyed lands.